You are too fat. I can't marry someone this fat, okay?
Please, don't leave me. Please.
The church was silent. So silent you could hear the air conditioning humming. The priest adjusted his glasses and looked at the couple standing at the altar. "If there is anyone here," the priest said, his voice echoing, "who has a reason why these two should not be joined in holy matrimony, speak now or forever hold your peace." Mia stood there, smiling behind her veil. Her heart was pounding with joy. She squeezed Kevin's hand. She had waited 3 years for this. She had paid for the flowers, the venue, and even the suit Kevin was wearing. Today was supposed to be her fairy tale. But Kevin didn't squeeze her hand back. He pulled his hand away. "I object," Kevin said coldly. The crowd gasped. Mia froze. She laughed nervously, thinking it was just a casual joke. "Kevin? Baby, stop playing." Kevin turned to face her. He didn't look like a man in love. He looked like a man who smelled something rotten. He reached out and grabbed the sleeve of her expensive wedding dress. "Look at this," Kevin said, loud enough for the back row to hear. He yanked the fabric. Rip! The lace tore at the shoulder because it was tight. Mia felt her face burn with shame. It wasn't fair. She had spent the last 6 months starving herself for this dress. She had lived on green tea and salads, hitting the gym every morning just to shrink herself down for him. But even after all the hunger and the hard work, the zipper still struggled, and the dress still clung to her curves, refusing to fit the way he wanted. "Kevin!" Mia screamed, trying to cover herself with her hands. "I can't do this anymore, Mia," Kevin shouted, throwing the torn fabric on the floor. "Look at you. You look like a stuffed pillow in that dress. You promised me you would lose 50 pounds before the wedding. You promised you wouldn't embarrass me." Mia's mother stood up in the front row. "Kevin, are you mad?" "I am not mad, Ma. I am finally awake," Kevin yelled back. He looked at Mia with pure disgust. "I tried, Mia. I really tried to force myself to love you, but I can't wake up next to a woman who has 0 self-control. I'm a manager now. I have a reputation. I need a wife that fits my image, not whatever this is." Tears streamed down Mia's face. But you said you loved me. You said looks didn't matter." Kevin laughed. It was a cold, cruel sound. "And that is the only reason I stayed." He leaned in close, his voice dropping to a harsh whisper. "I stayed because I was broke, Mia. I was hungry, and you were my meal ticket. You were my ladder. But guess what? I've climbed to the top now. I don't need the ladder anymore." He took off his ring and flicked it at her chest. It bounced off and rolled across the marble floor. "I'm done pretending." Kevin turned around and began to walk down the aisle, but he didn't head for the exit. He stopped in the 3rd row, right in front of a woman wearing a stunning, tight red dress that hugged every inch of her slim figure. It was Chloe. Kevin reached out and pulled Chloe to her feet. He looked back at Mia, a sick sense of satisfaction on his face. "You see this, Mia?" Kevin announced, gesturing to Chloe. "I invited her here today for a reason. I wanted you to see the difference between what I settled for and what I actually deserve. You were just a role I had to play until my finances cleared, a facade, but the show is over." Mia couldn't take it. The shame vanished, replaced by sheer panic. She ran down the altar steps, tripping over her torn dress, and grabbed Kevin's arm. "Kevin, please," Mia wailed, tears destroying her makeup. "I'll change. I promise I'll lose the weight. I'll go to the gym every day. Just don't leave me." She was begging him. A woman who had paid for his suit was begging him to stay in it. "Kevin, please tell her it's a joke." Mia's mother, Mrs. Okoro, rushed forward from the front row. Her jele was askew, her face wet with tears. She grabbed Kevin's other hand, shaking it desperately.
"Kevin, my son," Mrs. Okoro cried, her voice breaking the silence of the church. "Have mercy on us. You know Mia is all I have. Since her father died, she has been my only eye, my only joy. If you break her, you break me. Please don't kill my daughter like this. We will do whatever you want." The sight was heartbreaking, a widow and her daughter, crying and holding on to a man who looked at them like they were dirt. Kevin yanked his arm away from the mother so hard she almost fell. "That is not my problem, Ma. She might be your only joy, but she is my biggest embarrassment." He wrapped his arm around Chloe's waist. Chloe smirked at the crying bride and the begging mother, checking her nails like she was bored. "Let's go, baby," Chloe's voice cut through the sobbing. "This place smells like desperation." As the double doors slammed shut behind them, Mia's legs gave out. She collapsed on the altar, wailing in front of 300 guests. Mia was never the small girl. She was never the fragile one. From the moment she could walk, she was what the aunties called solid and what the mean kids in primary school called orobo. It was in her genes. Her mother was a big woman. Her grandmother was a big woman. But while her grandmother wore her size like a crown, Mia wore it like a heavy coat she couldn't take off. She hated mirrors. She hated shopping for clothes because nothing ever fit right. She hated family gatherings where people would make snide comments while piling food on her plate. "Ah, Mia, you're expanding, oh. Keep eating, you hear?" Her self-esteem was shattered before she even became a teenager. She learned to be the funny friend, the smart friend, the generous friend, but never the beautiful friend. She believed that love was something reserved for slim girls with flat tummies. She believed she had to earn love by being useful, by being a savior. Mia lies on the floor of her bedroom. The expensive lace robe she bought for the honeymoon night is tangled around her legs. She isn't crying anymore. She is just staring at the white ceiling. How did she get here? How did she let a man destroy her like this? As she stares at the ceiling, her mind drifts back, not to the wedding, but back to the day this nightmare began, back to 3 years ago.
He was sitting in the corner of the waiting area, but he didn't look like the arrogant man at the wedding. He didn't look like a big boy. He looked pathetic. He was wearing a suit that was 2 sizes too big, hanging off his skinny frame. The sole of his shoe was flapping open. He was sweating, clutching a resume that had been folded too many times. He looked like he hadn't eaten in 2 days. Mia stopped. She saw the receptionist rolling her eyes at him. "Sir, you have to leave," the receptionist snapped. "You failed the interview. You can't sleep here." "I just need a minute," Kevin's voice cracked. "It's raining outside. I don't have money for the bus." Mia's heart broke. She saw a man who was down on his luck, a man who needed help. And because Mia had spent her whole life trying to be the nice one, the useful one, she walked over, ignoring the receptionist. "Hey," Mia said softly. Kevin looked up. His eyes were red. He saw a confident, well-dressed woman smiling at him. I'm sorry, I'll leave," Kevin stammered, trying to hide his broken shoe. "No, stay," Mia said. She handed him a warm cup of coffee and a bagel from her tray. "You look like you need this." Kevin took the coffee with shaking hands. He took a bite of the bagel like he was starving. "Thank you. I've been looking for a job for 6 months. Nobody wants to hire me. I'm about to get kicked out of my apartment." Mia sat down next to him. She didn't see a loser. She saw a human being in pain. "Let me see your resume," Mia said, pulling out a pen. He handed it to her. It was messy. "You have potential, Kevin," Mia said, pulling out a pen. "But you're selling yourself wrong. Fix this section here and here." She reached into her purse and pulled out a crisp $100 bill. "Go get your shoe fixed. Come back tomorrow. Ask for Mia. I'll make sure the hiring manager gives you a second chance." Kevin stared at the money. Then he looked at Mia. He started to cry. "Why are you helping me?" he asked. "You don't even know me. People usually laugh at me." Because everyone deserves a chance, Mia smiled, and I have a good feeling about you. If only she knew. She wasn't saving a man. She was feeding a snake. The morning after the wedding was supposed to be the happiest day of Mia's life. Instead, she woke up in a dark room, her bridal makeup still smeared across her cheek, the expensive lace robe she had bought for her honeymoon tangled around her legs. The silence in her apartment was heavy, but her phone wouldn't stop screaming. Buzz, buzz, buzz. For a split second, a spark of hope lit up her chest. Kevin? Was he finally calling to explain? Was this all a terrible mistake? She grabbed the phone, the screen lighting up her tired face. But it wasn't Kevin. It was a debit alert. 25,000 Naira deduction. Interest on loan 4492. Then, WhatsApp message from the car rental company. Madam Mia, our driver has been waiting at the hotel since 8 a.m. to pick up the G-Wagon. Every extra hour attracts a fine. Please respond. Mia's heart trembled as she dropped the phone on the bed. The G-Wagon, the hall, the decor, the weight of it all crashed down on her, dragging her mind back to where the nightmare actually began. It wasn't at the altar. It started 2 months ago inside Kevin's car. She could still remember the sound of the rain hammering against the windows. Kevin had been gripping the steering wheel, looking stressed, sighing loudly until she finally asked him what was wrong. He had looked at her with those desperate, intense eyes and said, "It's the contract, Mia. My funds are hanging. The ministry is signed off, but the alert hasn't dropped. And now the hall manager is threatening to give our date away." Mia had been so relieved. She thought it was just a delay. She told him, "It'll clear, Kevin. We have time." But he shook his head. "We don't have time. I need you to handle it." "Handle it?" she asked, confused. The bill was millions. She didn't have that kind of cash lying around. That was when he said it. "Take the loan, Mia, the staff loan your bank offered. It's just a bridge. Once we say I do and my money clears, I'll pay it off double. I'll buy you a car for the stress." Mia hesitated. Her gut had screamed at her. She told him it was against her pension, that it would take years to pay back. But Kevin knew exactly which buttons to press. He grabbed her hand, softened his voice, and looked at her like she was the only woman in the world. "Am I not your husband?" he whispered. "What is mine is yours. If you can't cover me when I'm down, then what are we doing?" He made her feel guilty for doubting him. He made her feel like a bad partner for protecting her own future. So, out of pure love, out of innocence, she pulled out her phone and applied for the loan. She signed her life away because she trusted him when he said, "I've got us." Back in her bedroom, Mia let out a dry, painful laugh. "I've got us." He knew. Even back then, sitting in that car, he knew he wasn't going to show up. He knew he wasn't going to pay. He didn't just break her heart. He had convinced her to finance her own humiliation. She looked at her phone again. A new message popped up. "Madam, if we don't hear from you in 30 minutes, we are involving the police. This is theft." Mia stood up. Her legs were weak, but her eyes were hardening. She wasn't Mrs. Cole. She was just Mia, and she was in a lot of trouble. Mia didn't even have time to shower. She didn't have time to process the betrayal or cry about the empty space in her bed. The text message about the police had terrified her. She threw a hoodie over her rumpled pajamas, grabbed her car keys, and drove like a madwoman to the hotel where the G-Wagon was parked. Her heart was pounding in her throat the entire way. She kept rehearsing what she would say. "There was a misunderstanding. My fiancé, my husband, he just got delayed." But when she pulled into the hotel driveway, the misunderstanding vanished. Mr. Ahmed, the rental company manager, was standing next to the black G-Wagon. He wasn't alone. 2 mobile police officers were standing behind him, arms folded, looking bored but dangerous. Mia parked her small Toyota Camry and stepped out. Her legs felt like jelly. "Madam," Mr. Ahmed said, his voice sharp enough to cut glass, "you are 3 hours late. Do you think we run a charity here?"
Mia tried to speak, but her voice was shaking. "I'm so sorry, sir. Everything went wrong yesterday. My fiancé, my husband, he just got delayed." Mr. Ahmed cut her off with a wave of his hand. He didn't care about her fiancé. He didn't care about the tragedy. He pointed a finger at the G-Wagon's bumper. "There is a scratch here. Small, but it is there. That is a 50,000 naira penalty, plus the late fee, plus the driver's waiting time." Mia stared at him. Tears welled in her eyes, hot and stinging. People in the hotel lobby were starting to look. A couple walking out with their luggage stopped to watch. The shame burned her skin. "Please, sir," Mia whispered, trying to keep her dignity. "I don't have it right now. I spent everything on the wedding. If you can just give me until Monday." Mr. Ahmed laughed. It was a cruel, dry sound. "Monday? Madam, look at the contract." He shoved a piece of paper in her face. "Whose signature is this? Is it your ghost husband's? No, it is yours. You signed. You pay." He signaled to the police officers. They took a step forward. Panic seized her. Real, visceral panic. She couldn't go to a police station. She was a professional. She had a job. If she was arrested, she would lose everything. Okay, I'll pay," she screamed, her voice cracking. With trembling fingers, she opened her banking app. She transferred the last bit of money in her savings account, money meant for rent and food for the month. Transaction successful. Mr. Ahmed checked his phone, nodded once, and didn't even say thank you. He just got in the G-Wagon and drove off, leaving Mia standing alone in the hotel driveway. She felt stripped bare. She walked back to her small car and collapsed into the driver's seat. The silence inside was deafening. She reached for her phone one last time. She needed to hear his voice. She needed to scream at him. She needed to ask him why. She dialed Kevin's number. "The number you are calling is currently switched off. Please try again later." She opened WhatsApp. She went to his profile picture, the one of them smiling together at their introduction ceremony. It was gone. The profile picture was blank. The status was empty. And when she sent a message, "Please, Kevin," it only showed a single gray tick. He hadn't just left her. He had erased her. Mia dropped her head against the steering wheel, and finally, for the first time since the altar, she let out a scream that shook the car. Monday morning arrived, but Mia didn't go to work. She couldn't. She had called in sick, her voice raspy enough to make the lie convincing. She had one mission: find Kevin. He wasn't answering calls. He wasn't on WhatsApp, but he had a job, a very important job as a senior project manager at a top engineering building in Victoria Island. He had taken her there once, pointed at the tall glass building, and told her her office was on the 14th floor. He said security was too tight for visitors, so she had never actually gone up. That didn't matter today. She needed answers, and she needed her money back.
Mia dressed in her sharpest work clothes to hide the fact that she was falling apart inside. She drove to the building, parked, and marched to the reception desk with a determination she didn't feel. "Good morning," she said to the young receptionist. "I'm here to see Kevin Cole, senior project manager." The receptionist typed on her computer, her long acrylic nails clicking against the keys. She frowned. "Kevin Cole?" the receptionist asked, looking up. "Are you sure about the spelling?" "Yes," Mia said, impatience rising. "Kevin, C-O-L-E. He's been here for 2 years. He handles the ministry contracts." The receptionist shook her head slowly. "Madam, we don't have a Kevin Cole in our directory. Not in projects, not in HR. Nobody by that name works here." Mia felt the floor tilt beneath her feet. "That's impossible," she stammered. He drives a silver Toyota. He wears a navy blue suit. I dropped him off here last week." The commotion caught the attention of a security guard who stepped closer. "Madam, is there a problem?" "Check again." Mia's voice was rising, bordering on hysterical. "He has to be here. He owes me money. He's my husband. Well, he was supposed to be." The receptionist looked at her with pity now. That look was worse than anger. It was the look you give to a crazy person. "Madam," the receptionist said softly, "I can call the HR manager if you want, but our staff list is up to date. Nobody named Kevin Cole has ever worked for this company." Mia stumbled back from the desk. The lobby spun. The contract, the hanging funds, the network issues. It was all a lie. All of it. He hadn't just tricked her into a loan. He had invented an entire life. The suits were probably fake. The car he drove was probably rented, just like the G-Wagon she had paid for. She walked out of the building into the blinding sun. She felt sick. She wasn't dealing with a man who got cold feet. She was dealing with a professional predator. He didn't have a job, which meant he had no way to pay back the loan. Mia sat on the curb outside the fancy office building, not caring about the dirt on her skirt. She buried her face in her hands. She was 4 million naira in debt to a man who didn't exist. But while Mia was sitting in the dirt, wondering what she did wrong, the man she was crying for was busy living his best lie. Miles away, in a suite paid for by Mia's loan, Kevin stood by the window. Chloe rolled her eyes but held up her phone. "Fine, one picture. Smile, you crybaby." Kevin leaned in, forcing a wide, arrogant smile, holding his glass of champagne next to her cheek. Click. Chloe tapped her screen. Upload. The signal traveled from the hotel suite, through the cell towers, and landed right in the hands of the woman sitting on the curb. She wiped her eyes and looked at the screen. It wasn't a text from Kevin explaining himself. It was a notification from a blog. Lagos Big Boy proposes to his moon and stars. Is a Dubai wedding loading? Mia tapped the notification. And there it was, the photo. The same photo we just saw them take. Kevin, smiling that winning smile, holding the champagne she paid for, next to a woman who looked like a porcelain doll. Mia dropped the phone on the pavement. He wasn't just gone, he was happy. He had replaced her with the exact opposite of her, someone slim, someone glamorous, someone who didn't look like this. She tugged at her oversized shirt, trying to hide the rolls of flesh on her stomach, wishing the ground would swallow her whole. Mia thought she was alone. She thought nobody saw her. But 14 floors above, someone was watching. David, the CEO, the real owner of the company Kevin lied about, frowned at his monitor. "Security," David spoke into his intercom, staring at the CCTV feed. "Camera 4, the parking lot exit. That woman has been crying there for 2 hours." "We told her to leave, sir. She looks unstable." David zoomed in. He saw the slumped shoulders. He saw a woman who looked like she had carried the weight of the world until her back broke. He didn't see unstable. He saw broken. "Don't harass her," David said sharply, standing up and grabbing a bottle of water. "I'm going down." Mia was sobbing quietly when she saw a pair of polished shoes stop in front of her. "Madame?" a deep voice asked. "Go away," Mia choked out, not looking up. "I'm leaving. I just need a minute." "I'm not asking you to leave," the voice said. It was calm, gentle. Mia looked up. Standing there was a man in a navy blue suit that actually fit. He wasn't looking at her with disgust. He wasn't looking at the phone on the ground. "You've been sitting in the sun for a long time," David said, crouching down so he was at eye level with her. Mia looked at him. "Who are you? Security?" David smiled slightly. "Something like that. I own the building." Mia's eyes widened. She tried to scramble up, pulling her shirt down frantically to cover her hips, ashamed to be caught crying by a CEO. "I'm sorry, sir. I didn't know. I was looking for someone named Kevin. He said he worked here." David paused. He stood up slowly, offering her a hand. "Kevin?" David asked. "We don't have a Kevin here. We haven't hired anyone in 6 months." "I know," Mia whispered, fresh tears spilling over. "I know that now. He lied. He stole everything." David looked at her.
He didn't see a mess. He saw someone who had been deceived by the same type of person he despised. Liars who used his company's name to scam innocent people. "You aren't leaving like this," David said firmly. He held out a hand, strong, clean, and open. "My name is David. Come inside. It's too hot out here, and I think you need to tell me exactly who this Kevin is." Mia hesitated. She looked at his hand. Then she looked at herself, big, sweaty, broken. But when she looked into his eyes, she didn't see judgment. She saw safety. Slowly, Mia reached out and took his hand, and he drew her up. "Follow me," David said. The elevator doors opened with a soft ping. Mia stepped out, hugging her arms around herself. She felt out of place. Her shoes were dusty. Her shirt was sweaty. She was walking into a space that smelled of leather, expensive cologne, and power. David walked in behind her. He didn't look at his watch or his phone. He looked at his assistant. "Cancel my 5 p.m., David said calmly, "and get us some tea and a towel." He led Mia into his private office. It was huge. The walls were glass, overlooking the entirety of Lagos. "The restroom is through that door," David pointed to a side room. "Take a moment, wash your face, breathe." Mia nodded, unable to speak. She rushed into the bathroom and locked the door. Mia gripped the marble sink. She looked at herself in the wide, lit-up mirror. She looked wrecked. Her eyes were swollen. Her hair was messy. Her stomach pushed against the fabric of her shirt. "Look at you," the voice in her head whispered. "No wonder he left. Look at Chloe, then look at you. You are a joke." She splashed water on her face, trying to wash away the shame. She tried to fix her hair. She tried to pull her shirt looser, but she couldn't fix the feeling of being unworthy. She took a deep breath and walked back out. David was sitting on a sofa, not behind his desk. He wanted to be on her level. "Better?" he asked. "A little," Mia whispered. She sat on the edge of the chair, trying to take up as little space as possible. "Thank you, sir. I don't know why you're helping me." "Because I hate liars," David said simply, "and because you were crying in my parking lot about a man named Kevin who claims to work for me." He leaned forward. "Tell me everything. Start from the beginning." And so Mia did. She told him about the meeting 3 years ago, the kindness, the proposal, the insecurity, the hanging funds, the 4 million naira loan, and finally the blog post she saw downstairs. When she finished, she looked down at her hands. "I know I sound stupid," she said, her voice trembling. "I let him trick me because I thought I was lucky he wanted me. A guy like him doesn't usually look at a girl like this." She gestured at her oversized shirt, trying to hide the rolls of flesh on her stomach, wishing the ground would swallow her whole. Mia thought she was alone. She thought nobody saw her. But David was silent. Mia braced for the pity. "You aren't stupid, Mia," David said. His voice was hard, but not at her. "You are generous, and he is a predator." David paced behind his desk, his face tight with frustration. "Sit down, Mia," he said, not looking up. "You said this Kevin guy claimed to work here. He claimed to be a senior manager." "Yes," Mia said, her voice small. She was sitting on the edge of the leather chair, clutching her phone. David stopped pacing. He held out his hand. "Show me," he demanded. "Show me the ID." Mia scrolled through her gallery. She found a photo she had taken 5 months ago, a selfie of her and Kevin in his car. Kevin was smiling, and the Zenith ID card was dangling from the rearview mirror. She handed the phone to David. David took it. He zoomed in on the ID card. Suddenly, the color drained from his face. "Impossible," David whispered. "What?" Mia asked. "Is it fake?" "The plastic is fake," David said, his voice dropping to a dangerous growl. "But the clearance code printed on the bottom, that is real." He looked up at Mia, his eyes fierce.
That code, Alpha 7 Red, is a high-level security protocol. Only 3 people in this entire building have access to it. We have been losing millions of dollars in data breaches for 6 months. We knew there was a mole selling our secrets, but we couldn't find the buyer. David slammed his hand on the desk, making Mia jump. "This is the buyer. You're Kevin." David sat down and typed furiously on his keyboard. He uploaded the photo of Kevin's face from Mia's phone into the company's internal security database. Scanning. Match found. David laughed. It was a dry, humorless sound. "Look at this," David said, turning the screen to Mia. Mia looked. It was Kevin's face, but not on an employee profile. It was on a rejected application file. He didn't work here. He applied here 4 times in 2 years, and we rejected him every single time. He wasn't qualified. He failed the psych evaluation. David leaned back, staring at the screen. "He hates us. He couldn't get in through the front door, so he bought a key from the back door. He's been buying access from my traitor staff member and using it to pose as a big boy to scam people." Mia felt a wave of nausea. "So, I was just part of the scam?" she whispered. David looked at her. He saw the pain in her eyes. It wasn't just about the money anymore. It was the psychological torture. "Mia," David said gently, "why do you think he left you for Chloe?" "Because she's beautiful," Mia said, her voice cracking. "Because she's slim. Because she fits the image." "No," David corrected her. "He left you because he used up your status." David walked around the desk and sat on the coffee table in front of her. "To a man like Kevin, a woman isn't a partner. She is a prop. When he was nobody, he needed you. You were safe. You were kind. You gave him stability while he built his criminal network." David pointed to the screen where Chloe's face was visible in a new tab. "But now, he has the stolen data. He has the fake money. He needs a high-status prop. Chloe is an influencer. She is reputable. Standing next to her makes him look legitimate. He didn't leave you because you weren't enough, Mia. He discarded you because he is a parasite looking for a bigger host." Mia stared at the floor. The realization hit her harder than any slap. He had gaslighted her for years. He made her feel lucky he chose her. He made her feel her body was a flaw he was generously overlooking. Meanwhile, he was the one who was unworthy. He had systematically destroyed her self-esteem just to keep her compliant until he was ready to upgrade. It wasn't heartbreak. It was psychological warfare. "He made me hate myself," Mia whispered, tears hot on her cheeks. "He made me look in the mirror and see a failure, just so I would be grateful for his crumbs." David reached out. He didn't touch her, but he offered her a tissue. "And that," David said, "is why we are going to destroy him. Not just for the money, but for the mind games." David stood up. The sadness was gone from his eyes, replaced by cold calculation. "My security team just flagged the mole. We're arresting him downstairs right now. He will talk. He will tell us exactly where Kevin is." David grabbed his car keys. "And when we find Kevin, we aren't just going to arrest him for the money. We are going to strip him of this fake high status he loves so much. We are going to expose him in front of the woman he left you for and the entire world." David looked at Mia. "Are you ready to show him that he messed with the wrong woman?" Mia wiped her face. She stood up. She pulled her oversized shirt down, but this time she didn't hunch her shoulders. "I'm ready." The room smelled of expensive perfume and even more expensive champagne. Kevin was lounging on the sofa, wearing a silk Versace robe. He wasn't stressed about money anymore. The millions he had made from selling Zenith Tech's data to Chinese bidders had just hit his offshore account. He was feeling invincible. Chloe was by the mirror, touching up her makeup. "Babe, are you sure this new transfer is safe? I don't want EFC drama." Kevin laughed, sipping his drink. "Relax. The mole inside Zenith wiped the logs. The CEO is clueless. We are untouchable." Crash! The heavy double doors of the suite didn't just open, they exploded inward. "Nobody move! Armed squad!" 6 officers in tactical gear, armed with assault rifles, stormed the room. "Get on the ground! Now! Now!" Kevin dropped his glass. It shattered on the marble floor. Chloe screamed, dropping her lipstick, and threw her hands up. "Don't shoot! Don't shoot!" Kevin yelled, scrambling off the sofa.
The officers didn't hesitate. They kicked his legs out from under him, forcing him chest down onto the rug. They grabbed Chloe and shoved her onto the bed, handcuffing her wrists behind her back. The chaos lasted 10 seconds, then silence. Heavy footsteps echoed in the hallway. A tall figure walked into the room. He was flanked by 2 more guards. He was wearing a suit that cost more than Kevin's entire stolen life. It was David, and right walking beside him, head held high, was Mia. The officers hauled Kevin up to his knees so he could face them. Kevin blinked, sweat dripping into his eyes. He saw Mia. His shock turned instantly into a sneer. His arrogance was so deep he couldn't help himself. "Mia?" Kevin spat, laughing nervously. "Seriously? You called the police? You're so bitter." He looked at David, sizing him up. He didn't recognize him. "And who's this?" Kevin mocked, shaking his head. "You went to bring your boyfriend to fight me? This is exactly why I left you, Mia. You're weak. You think this guy is gonna save you? He'll leave you too, just like I did." Mia's mouth opened to speak, but the words stuck in her throat. The audacity! After everything he did, he was still trying to make her feel small. But before she could say a word, David stepped forward. His voice was low, calm, and terrifying. "She didn't bring her boyfriend," he said. He reached out and took Mia's hand, interlacing their fingers tightly. "I am her fiancé." Kevin froze. David took another step closer, looking down at Kevin like he was a bug. "And I am also the CEO of Zenith Tech Tower." The color drained from Kevin's face so fast it looked like he had died. "The CEO?" Kevin whispered. "Yes," David said, his eyes burning with cold fury. "The man you've been stealing from for the past 3 months. The man's security protocols you've breached. The man's trade secrets you sold to international bidders for 45 million naira." Kevin's eyes went wide, his throat dried, his mouth moved like a fish out of water, but no sound came out. The shock on his face was absolute. It was the best thing Mia had ever seen. He realized in that split second that he hadn't just scammed an ex-girlfriend, he had poked a sleeping dragon. "You thought you were a big boy?" David asked, his voice dripping with venom. "You are a thief, and you are going to prison for a long, long time." David nodded to the officers. "Take them both." "Wait, no!" Kevin started screaming, the arrogance completely gone, replaced by pure terror. "Sir, please, I didn't know." He turned to Mia, dragging his knees across the floor as the officers pulled him back. "Mia, baby, please, tell him we're family." "We are not family," Mia said, her voice steady. "It was the devil," Kevin screamed, struggling against the handcuffs. "Mia, you know I love you. Chloe was a mistake. She bewitched me." Chloe, who was being dragged out behind him, screamed back. "You liar! You said you were single. Don't drag me into this." "Baby, please," Kevin howled, his voice cracking as they dragged him into the hallway. "Mia, you know I love you. Save me. Mia!" Mia stood there, holding David's hand. She watched the elevator doors close on Kevin's crying, desperate face. She looked up at David. "Thank you," she whispered. 3 weeks later, the Gamo came down with a sound like a gunshot. Bam! For the crimes of grand larceny, corporate espionage, and identity theft, I hereby sentence you, Kehonde Balogun, to 15 years in prison with hard labor. Kevin screamed. He tried to lunge forward, but the prison guards held him back. He looked frantically at the witness stand. Chloe was standing there, looking fresh, innocent, and beautiful. "My lord," she said, wiping a fake tear, "I had no idea. He deceived me too. I'm just a victim of his false deceit. I never knew the money was stolen." The judge nodded sympathetically. "The court finds Miss Chloe innocent of conspiracy. You are free to go." "What?" Kevin roared, his eyes bulging. "She knew. She spent the money. Chloe, tell them. Don't leave me here." Chloe didn't even look at him. She picked up her designer bag, flipped her long hair, and walked out of the courtroom. Her freedom was the final nail in Kevin's coffin. Because she denied him, he took the fall for everything. Kevin was dragged away, kicking and crying, into the darkness. Music was blasting. Mia was on the treadmill, sweating, moving at a steady pace. She wasn't skinny. She was still big, still soft, still curvy, but she was strong. Her skin was glowing. She wasn't hiding in a hoodie anymore. She was wearing a bright pink workout set that hugged her body. She exercised not to shrink herself for a man. She exercised because she loved herself. "Good session?" David walked up to her, handing her a towel. He kissed her sweaty forehead without hesitation. "Great session," Mia smiled, breathless. "You have that meeting in an hour," David reminded her. "But first, you said you had to make a stop."
Mia's smile faded slightly. "Yeah, I need to close the final chapter." The room smelled of bleach and misery. Mia sat behind the glass partition. She looked like a billionaire. She was wearing a fitted red dress that commanded attention, her hair laid perfectly, her wedding ring from David sparkling under the fluorescent lights. The door on the other side buzzed open. Kevin walked in. Mia almost didn't recognize him. The big boy was gone. His head was shaved, he was thin, gaunt, and his skin was covered in rashes. His orange uniform hung off his bones. He looked broken. When he saw Mia, his eyes lit up with a desperate, hungry hope. He sat down and grabbed the phone. "Mia," Kevin breathed into the receiver. "You came. I knew you would come. My God, look at you. You look expensive." Mia picked up her phone calmly. "Hello, Kevin." "Mia, look at me," Kevin pleaded, pointing to his rags. "I am suffering. The food is poisoned. The other prisoners, they beat me every day. Please, you have to help me." "Why did you do it, Kevin?" Mia asked. She didn't offer pity. She just wanted the truth. "I gave you everything. Why did you try to destroy me?" Kevin looked down. "Because I was greedy. I wanted the fast life. And when I saw you, I saw a ladder. I thought you were weak because of your size. I thought I could climb on you and you wouldn't fight back." He looked up, tears in his eyes. "But I was wrong. You are the strongest woman I know. Chloe is garbage. She left me the second the money finished. But you were here." He leaned closer to the glass, his voice turning urgent. "Mia, listen to me. David doesn't love you. He is just using you to look like a philanthropist. He will get bored. He will leave you for a slim girl eventually. You know how men are." Mia's jaw tightened. Even in prison, he was trying to manipulate her. "I am the only one who really knows you," Kevin cried. "Forgive me, Mia. Drop the charges. Tell the judge you made a mistake. Get me out of here." "And then what?" Mia asked. "And then we go back," Kevin said, his eyes wild. "I will take care of you. I will worship you. I will never look at another woman. We can start again, just you and me. Cut off David. He isn't us. Please, Mia, save me." Mia looked at him. She looked at the man who had haunted her dreams for years. She saw his pain. She saw his regret. She remembered the good times, how he used to hold her when she felt ugly. She remembered that he was the first man to ever propose to her. Her heart, always her weakness, softened just a fraction. She held the power of his life in her hands. One word from her to David's lawyers, and his sentence could be reduced. She looked at his desperate, crying face. Mia started. She paused. She looked at her wedding ring, then back at Kevin. "I'll think about it," Mia said. She hung up the phone. Kevin started screaming, banging on the glass as the guards dragged him away. "Mia, don't think about it. Do it. Love me. Mia!" Mia stood up, smoothed her dress, and walked out of the prison. Mia has finally reclaimed her power. She is glowing, she is loved, and she is the boss. Kevin is rotting in jail, blaming everyone but himself. But that ending, Mia said she would think about it. Kevin is begging for a second chance. He says David is just using her. He swears he will treat her like a queen if she releases him. So, I have a very serious question for you guys. If you were Mia, looking at your ex-husband suffering in prison like that, would you drop the charges and let him go? Or would you leave him there to rot for the full 15 years? Do you think he deserves mercy?
Or is he just trying to manipulate her again? Let me know your honest answer in the comments below. And also, represent your country. Tell me where you're watching this story from. USA, NG, Ghana, Kenya, UB? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next story. See you next time.